Going on, everybody? Just as the sun has risen, so should your mind and your heart above all things. You also have courage. Courage is needed in a time such as this, and we find ourselves in times where things have changed. We're not in the same place that we used to be, and life has definitely taken a shift, if you will. And in this particular shift, for those who are aware, you can actually see the advantages that are happening and or coming. You can see the advantages that are happening and or coming. Many of us have had experiences of enlightenment where, more specifically, let me rest at a place so we can make sure we're walking through this together. There's an opportunity for everybody to participate in an awareness, if you will. There's an opportunity for everybody to participate in awareness, if you will. And I won't suggest that everybody has access to this awareness because I'm not the gatekeeper. I cannot suggest that everybody will experience this awareness because, again, I'm not the enabler. I'm just simply a traveler experiencing the awareness, and in this experience, I just am soliciting and giving feedback on what I observe and what I witness within my own internal self. And in my internal self, it has allowed. I've seen spaces. I have been present in moments, and I've connected the dots, if you will. And it wasn't by force. It wasn't by particular design in which these dots were connected. It was just by experience. And so as I have been journeying and down it's not so much down this road, since I've been aware, there's so many different things I want to share with you in this. The first thing is there's so much more available to you in this space of awareness. There's so much more available to you in the space of awareness. Oftentimes, we don't realize we live in such a limited capacity when we're constantly living in the scope of our story, right? And so what I mean by that is in the capacity of awareness, you're not living in the scope of your story. Oftentimes, there are many people, including myself, that our life is predicated on our story. And our story is those things that we tell ourselves, the narrative in which we listen, the narrative in which we are in tune to, and many of our stories aren't pleasant, and therefore the external existence kind of matches, if you will. It matches, right? The internal story that we're telling ourselves mentally is very similar to our external experience. However, for those who are aware, they understand that stories are created by the creator. And as we journey, or as I talk about this awareness, I just want to ensure that everybody understands a few things in this awareness, right? This experience, if you will. And this is not something where you can plead to open up and to receive awareness. This is not something where you can necessarily travel to. It just exists, and your state of awareness, if you will, has there's endless opportunities to create. There's endless opportunities to be aware, and the beauty is those two things work together in pieces and in parts. Awareness means to have the capacity to see clarity. No different than you stepping outside and you looking around your neighborhood. You're aware of what's around you. How you interact with your neighborhood will kind of move us to the next step of creativity. So you have clarity and creativity, right? And so when it comes to creativity, that is the let me make sure we're on the same page when we talk about creativity. So when it comes to one being aware, then creating, that's a separate space. Creativity is intentful. Creativity is interactive. And in this space of creativity, that also in of itself has depths, it has layers. Some people have more awareness of these layers, and in their awareness, they are participating. The deepest I've been in creativity is just simply feeling or knowing or experiencing or sensing the birth, if you will. As a mother conceives, well, let me slow down. The injection. There's an injection that happens prior to creativity. A woman is injected, if you will, not talking about penetration, just talking about ejaculation, ejected with consciousness or with senses or with particles or with injected with a being. A being is placed into her. And the first stages is the ejection, the interaction, the connection. All those are different layers, those shuns, those different connections, all those things are different layers, if you will. And within the experience of creativity, what I've had the honor, because it's truly an honor, I've had the honor of experiencing the creation of the ejection that created that which I projected. Healing, we think, is a place we go to in order to receive physically, externally. We go to the doctor in order to be assessed, trusting that they know our condition, trusting that they're educated, trusting that they are aware, and that they make the proper decision to properly heal us externally. However, there's a different type of healing that you have accessibility to in this awareness space. And from this dual spaces of awareness and creation or creativity, healing really starts with awareness. It's you being aware that something is not right, and the depth of your attention to that determines the depth of the creative healing that you experience. And that in and of itself, the attention to awareness is layered. It's similar to you enjoying a bicycle, getting on the bike, and you're paying attention to the bike, and you're paying attention to the enjoyment more so the bike, because pretty soon you forget about the bike, you put the bike to the side, and it no longer becomes a part of your attention. The experience does. However, for those of you who like to dig into what you're experiencing and know that there's depths of attention to what you're experiencing, you have to first start with the bike. The bike is broken up into many pieces. Every piece works together. Every piece is made with different product, different technique, whole different experience in each makeup of the piece. Then you can go any further to where the pieces are originally originated from. The source of the material. You can go as far back and stretch. All I'm saying, there's layers to this. And the depth of which you experience these layers is the attention you give it, right? Because anything you pay attention to, you become aware of. Anything you become aware of is you draw to you information, and your discipline, if you will, or your awareness of what's coming to you, that engagement, that connection is the injection of your attention to it. Therefore, you're injecting yourself in it, creating something that you have projected. A child comes out from birth, being birthed from his mother, him or her being birthed from her, she creating a being with him, her create, her, one whole, simultaneously receiving, experiencing, creating. All these things are process, or all these things are layers, pieces, particles, if you will, and all, right? We're nothing more than particles. And our particle being, component being, our source ejected us, injected, connected, interacted with, and created us. So healing, let me get back to what we're talking about, healing, because that's the topic at hand in this particular discussion state of space. Healing has there's a place of injection. You have to be aware that first, what's the attentiveness to my body. I have to understand my body. I have to understand how it's made up. I have to understand its skin, blood, particles, nervous system, respiratory system, the brain, the mind, and therefore, what's aching. Where is the trigger, if you will? Where's the surface, if you will? Because everything at the surface has a root, and depending on how aware you are of that will determine how deep you go to find it. And depth has nothing to do with skill. Depth just means the attention to what you put towards something, the objective. And as you find beneath the layer of this connection to the surface, you start to really mentally, emotionally, physically, subconsciously, spiritually, sensibly proceed down this path of awareness. And as you proceed, taking one out of self-conscious. Self-conscious is what keeps you limited. Self-conscious is what keeps you preventing this healing, if you will. The true healing, at least. Separating you from self-conscious awareness, processing, levitating, experiencing, looking in soulfully to the source, the root of the pain. You'll discover that something has been distorted. And in the natural space in which we come, there is no distortion. There's perfection, and we just are created from perfection. But something happens along the way where things get distorted, lack of clarity. As we mentioned, awareness has to do with clarity. And those are the two steps in the processes we're talking about. Have you, one, received awareness? Have you, two, received clarity? And based off what you are aware of, your attention to this awareness is the interactive injection you place on what you're going to create, depending on what's in you coming out of you. No different than a mother having a child born. So, I'll rest here and from this space, know that it exists. I speak from the space. I talk from the space, not outer space. Some may seem that way, but space is nothing but the occupant in which you exist. And our existence is not simply where our self-conscious has placed us externally. It's not in your home. It's not in it's not where you're at right now. Your existence is dependent upon your awareness. Your awareness is dependent upon your attention. Your attention is dependent upon your interaction. All these things are simultaneously connected in depth. Create clarity. That's all I would like to share today.